Michael sat quietly in his office, looking out the large glass window. Below him, the city bustled with people walking, cars moving, and shops opening for the day. But Michael's mind was not on the busy streets. He was thinking about his company, the coffee chain he had built over the last 10 years. The company was growing fast, and Michael was proud of what he had done. But lately, he had started to feel something was missing. He spent most of his time in meetings, looking at reports, and making decisions from behind a desk. He realized he didn't really know what was happening in his cafes. How did the workers feel? What was their daily life like? Did customers enjoy their coffee? He wanted to find out. That morning, Michael made a decision. He would visit one of his cafes not as the CEO but as a normal customer. He wanted to wear simple clothes, blend in with the crowd, and see the cafe through the eyes of his customers and workers. He wanted to feel what it was like to stand behind the counter, serve coffee, and maybe even understand the small problems that came with it. Michael changed quickly. He put on a plain blue shirt, simple jeans, and a baseball cap to hide his face. He didn't want anyone to recognize him. He looked into the mirror and took a deep breath. Today, I will learn something new, he said quietly to himself. The cafe was not far from his office. As he walked inside, the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. The warm sound of the espresso machine and soft music made the place feel cozy. Michael smiled. This was the world he wanted to know better. Behind the counter, two workers were busy. Anna was carefully making a latte, and Sam was cleaning the tables. Michael noticed how focused they were. He stepped up to the counter and ordered a latte, just like any other customer. Anna looked at him politely and started making the drink. Michael watched her hands move quickly but carefully, steaming the milk, pouring the coffee. He thought about how many lattes she must have made today already. While he waited, Michael looked around the cafe. The place was small but neat. Customers sat at tables, talking quietly or reading books. Some were working on laptops. Everyone seemed relaxed. Then, Michael heard voices coming from behind the counter. He thought they were speaking quietly, but he could catch some words. "Have you noticed the tips are less this week?" Anna asked. Sam replied, "Yeah, I don't know what's happening. It feels like someone is taking them." Michael's heart stopped for a moment. Tips being taken? He had never thought about this problem before. He had focused so much on big business numbers, marketing, and new stores that he had missed what was happening right here. He stayed still, listening carefully as Anna and Sam continued. "It's not just the tips," Anna said quietly. "Sometimes, the managers don't listen to us. We work hard all day, but it feels like no one cares." Sam nodded. "I love this job, but it's hard when we don't trust each other. If only the boss knew." Michael felt a strong mix of feelings: shock, sadness, and guilt. He realized that even though he had started this company with a dream, the people working every day did not feel that dream. He didn't want to interrupt them. Instead, he kept his face calm and looked away, pretending to check his phone. Inside, his mind was racing. The latte was ready. Anna placed it carefully on the counter with a smile. Michael smiled back and took the cup. He found a quiet table near the window and sat down. He took a small sip of the latte. It was good, rich and smooth, just like he wanted. But his thoughts were far from the taste. He watched Anna and Sam for a few more minutes. Anna was helping a customer with a friendly smile. Sam was stacking clean cups. Both looked tired but still gave their best. Michael's thoughts returned to their words. Tips being taken, no one listening, feeling invisible. These were not small problems. These were signs that his company was losing something important: trust and respect. He knew he had to do something, but he didn't know what yet. He wanted to help Anna and Sam, and all the other workers liked them, but first, he needed to understand the whole story. After finishing his latte, Michael quietly left the cafe. Outside, he took off his cap and looked up at the sky. The sun was shining, but inside him, he felt a shadow. This visit was just the beginning. He promised himself that he would learn more, listen more, and change things for the better. As he walked back to his office, Michael thought about how easy it was to miss small voices in a big company. He wanted to hear those voices clearly now. The next morning, Michael woke up with a strange feeling. The words he had overheard at the cafe stayed in his mind. Tips were missing, and his workers felt unheard. It was more serious than he had thought. But how could he find out the truth without making anyone uncomfortable? After a quick breakfast, Michael decided to return to the same cafe. This time, he wanted to see more, not just the coffee or the customers, but the daily life behind the counter. He hoped to meet Anna and Sam again, to understand their feelings better. He dressed simply again, with a soft green shirt and dark pants. He put on his baseball cap to stay hidden. As he walked toward the cafe, he practiced what he might say if he got a chance to talk with the workers. When he entered, the cafe felt alive with the usual morning energy. The bell above the door jingled softly. Anna was behind the counter again, arranging pastries on a tray, and Sam was wiping the windows. Michael smiled inside. He felt a little more comfortable now. He ordered a black coffee this time and found a seat near the back. From there, he could watch everything without being noticed. As he sipped his coffee, he listened carefully. The cafe was busy, and the workers moved quickly. Customers smiled and chatted, and the baristas worked as a team. But Michael's eyes returned often to Anna and Sam. He saw Anna helping a young woman choose a pastry, her face kind and patient. Then Sam came over to clear a table, quietly making sure everything was clean. Michael could tell they cared about their work. Suddenly, he heard the voices again. This time, it was quieter, but his ears caught them. "I don't understand why the tips are missing," Anna said softly. "We work hard, and it feels unfair." Sam nodded and added, "And sometimes, the schedule is changed without telling us. It makes it hard to plan our day." Michael's heart tightened. These were small things to some people, but to Anna and Sam, they mattered a lot. Missing tips, changes in schedule without notice, it all made their work feel unstable and uncertain. He thought about how easy it would be to ignore these problems if he were far away in his office. But now, sitting here, hearing their voices, he knew that these small problems could grow if no one fixed them. Michael wanted to help, but he didn't want to scare Anna and Sam by revealing who he was. Instead, he decided to watch and listen a little more. He saw a new worker arrive, a young man named Tim. Tim looked nervous, like it was his first day. Anna greeted him warmly and showed him how to use the espresso machine. Michael watched as Anna patiently explained each step. It made him think about how important kindness was in the workplace. If workers felt supported, they could do better. But if they felt ignored, the whole team might suffer. Later, Michael noticed Sam talking to another employee, Lucy. They whispered about the weekend schedule and seemed worried. Michael thought, there is a lot more happening here than I ever imagined. As the morning passed, Michael quietly talked with some customers too. Many said they loved the coffee but wished the place felt friendlier. One woman mentioned that the barista seemed tired sometimes. This made Michael think again. A cafe was more than just coffee and pastries. It was a place where people worked hard and wanted to feel appreciated. And customers could sense when something was wrong. Near noon, Anna came to refill Michael's coffee. She smiled and asked, "Are you enjoying your drink?" Michael smiled back. "It's really good. Thank you." She nodded and went back to work. Michael wondered if she knew how much he cared about what she and her team were saying. Before leaving, Michael wrote down some notes on a small paper. He wrote about the tips, the schedules, and the tired smiles he had seen. He promised himself to find a way to fix these things. Walking out of the cafe, Michael felt both hopeful and worried. He knew he could not solve everything quickly. But he also knew that listening was the first step. He thought about Anna and Sam and how much they cared about their jobs despite the problems. He wanted to show them that he cared too. That afternoon, Michael sat in his office, looking at his notes. He started making plans to talk with his managers about the issues he had heard. He knew it would take time to make changes, but he was ready. For the first time in a long time, Michael felt connected to his company not just as a CEO, but as someone who understood the people who made the company real. He smiled quietly and whispered, "I will not forget these voices." After his visit to the cafe, Michael could not stop thinking about what he had heard. The words of Anna and Sam echoed in his mind: tips missing, schedules changing without notice, and the feeling of being ignored. These were small details, but to the workers, they meant everything. Michael sat in his office, the city noise distant behind the glass walls. His desk was filled with reports, papers, and emails, but today, none of those things mattered as much as what he had learned. He stared out the window, lost in thought. For a long moment, he felt silent inside a quiet space where all the noise of his busy life seemed to disappear. It was the first time in a while that he really paused. He realized that he had been so focused on the big picture: profits, expansion, new stores, that he had forgotten about the people who made everything possible. Michael's hands rested on the desk. He thought about Anna, with her gentle smile and careful hands making coffee. He thought about Sam, who cleaned tables and worried about schedules. They worked hard every day, yet they felt invisible. How could he have missed this? He remembered the way Anna had looked when she said, "If only the boss knew." Those simple words hit him deeply. For Michael, it was a wake-up call. Being a boss was not just about numbers or decisions, it was about listening, understanding, and caring. He closed his eyes and thought about the company's future. If the workers felt unhappy or ignored, the whole company would suffer. But if they felt valued and heard, the company could become stronger, kinder, and better. Michael's phone buzzed softly, pulling him out of his thoughts. It was a message from one of his managers, asking about the quarterly sales. Michael smiled a little but did not answer right away. This message, and many others like it, had filled his days. But today, he wanted to focus on something more important. He stood up and walked to the window. The sun was shining, but inside, Michael felt a shadow of regret. Not because he had failed, but because he had not seen clearly before. He made a decision. He would spend the next few days listening more. Not only to the managers or reports, but to the workers, the people like Anna and Sam who made the coffee, cleaned the tables, and smiled at customers every day. Michael also knew he could not do this alone. He needed to talk to his managers and find a way to change the company culture. But first, he had to understand the real problems from the ground up. That afternoon, Michael returned to the cafe, but this time, not to hide. He wanted to speak to Anna and Sam quietly and earn their trust. He hoped they would share more with him, and he promised himself to be patient. Inside the cafe, the familiar smell of coffee greeted him again. Anna recognized him from yesterday and gave a small nod. Sam smiled slightly but looked tired. Michael sat down at a small table near the window, careful not to draw attention. After a few minutes, Anna came over with a fresh cup of tea. "I thought you might want something warm," she said softly. Michael thanked her and smiled. "Thank you, Anna. I really appreciate everything you do." Anna looked surprised but pleased. "It's our job. We want the customers to be happy." Michael nodded. "I know, and I want to understand how you feel working here." Anna paused. "Sometimes, it feels hard. We work long hours, and the tips are important for us. When those tips go missing, it hurts. Michael listened carefully. He wanted to say more but waited for her to continue. Sam joined the table quietly. We want to trust the people who run this place. But when things change without telling us, or when tips disappear, it feels like we don't matter. Michael felt a lump in his throat. He knew they were right. He looked at Anna and Sam and said honestly, "I'm sorry. I didn't know these things were happening. I promise to find out what is going on and fix it." Anna smiled slightly. "It's good to hear that, but we need to see changes, not just words." Michael agreed. "I understand. I will work on that. But I need your help too. Please tell me if anything is wrong. I want to listen." For the first time, Anna and Sam seemed hopeful. They talked about small ideas to make the workplace better, clear schedules, fair tips, and more chances to share their thoughts. Michael felt a warm feeling inside. He realized that real change begins with listening and respect. As the afternoon turned to evening, Michael stayed a little longer, chatting quietly with the workers. He learned about their lives, their challenges, and their dreams. When he finally left the cafe, Michael felt different. He was no longer just a CEO in a suit. He was a person who cared deeply about his team. Walking back to his office, Michael thought, "This is only the beginning." But it is a good beginning. Back in his office, Michael sat quietly at his desk, staring at the notes he had made during his visits to the cafe. The small paper held words like tips missing, unclear schedules, and feeling invisible. These problems were small in the big world of business, but they meant everything to the people working behind the counter. Michael knew it was time to act. But he also understood that change would not happen overnight. It would take time, patience, and the right steps. Most importantly, he needed to build trust with the workers and his managers. He picked up his phone and called his head manager, a woman named Lisa. Lisa had been with the company for many years and knew the business well. "Lisa, I need to talk about something important," Michael said when she answered. "I visited one of our cafes yesterday disguised as a customer." There was a brief silence on the other end. Then Lisa laughed softly. "Really? What did you find out?" Michael took a deep breath. "I heard some things that worried me. Workers talked about tips being taken, schedules changing without notice, and feeling ignored." Lisa's voice changed, sounding more serious. "I'm sorry you heard that, Michael. We've had some complaints, but I thought they were small. I didn't realize it was this bad." Michael nodded even though she couldn't see him. "Me too. I think we need to look closely at how we treat our staff. They are the heart of the company." Lisa agreed. "I'll start gathering information. Maybe we can hold a meeting with the staff to hear their thoughts directly." "That's a good idea," Michael said. "I want to be involved. I want us to listen to the workers and make real changes." After the call, Michael felt a small spark of hope. He knew Lisa would help, but he also needed to prepare for what might come next. Change was not easy, and some people might resist it. He spent the rest of the day planning. He wrote down ideas to improve communication with workers, ways to check tip handling, and ways to make scheduling clear and fair. That evening, Michael returned to the cafe not in disguise this time. He wanted to meet with Anna, Sam, and others to show he was serious about change. Inside the cafe, the workers were finishing their shifts. Michael approached Anna and Sam, who were cleaning tables. "Hello," Michael said gently. "I'm Michael, the CEO of the company." Anna and Sam looked surprised but not scared. Instead, they listened carefully. "I want to thank you for sharing your thoughts with me," Michael continued. "I heard about the problems with tips and schedules, and I want to make things better." Anna smiled a little. "It's good to hear that. We want to trust you. Michael nodded. I want that too. So, I'm planning a meeting next week with all the workers and managers. We can talk openly, and I promise to listen. Sam looked hopeful. That sounds good. We just want to be treated fairly. Michael felt a strong sense of responsibility. I will make sure we take real steps to improve things. As he left the cafe, Michael thought about how important this moment was. It was the first time the CEO had spoken directly to the workers, not as a distant boss but as someone who cared. The next few days were busy. Michael worked closely with Lisa and the management team. They checked the tip system carefully, making sure all money was counted correctly and fairly. They also reviewed the schedule process to make it clearer and more organized. Lisa arranged for a special meeting at the cafe. Michael wanted to be there in person to hear from everyone. When the day of the meeting arrived, the cafe was filled with workers, managers, and a few regular customers. Michael stood at the front, feeling both nervous and hopeful. He began by thanking everyone for their hard work and honesty. I want you to know that your voices matter to me. I have heard your concerns, and I want us to work together to make this a better place for all of us. The workers started to share their experiences. Anna spoke about how tips sometimes disappeared and how it made her worried. Sam talked about the difficulty of planning his life because of sudden schedule changes. Others added their thoughts, sharing small problems and ideas for improvement. The room was filled with honest words and listening ears. Michael took notes and promised to act on every issue. We will create a transparent system for tips, clear schedules, and open communication. No one should feel invisible or unheard. As the meeting ended, many workers came up to thank Michael. Anna smiled and said, "It feels good to be heard." Michael smiled back. "Thank you for trusting me. This is just the beginning." Walking home that evening, Michael felt a quiet joy. The company was more than numbers and stores, it was people. And now, those people were finally being heard. He knew challenges lay ahead, but with patience and care, change was possible. Michael looked at the sky, feeling ready for the journey ahead. The meeting had been a turning point. Michael felt hopeful, but he knew that real change would take time. He needed to build trust not only with Anna and Sam but with all the workers across his cafes. For the next few days, Michael made a point of visiting the cafes more often. Not as a distant boss, but as someone who wanted to listen. He wore simple clothes and sometimes stayed quiet, just watching how the workers moved and talked. One afternoon, Michael returned to the first cafe. Anna was behind the counter, her face tired but kind. Sam was arranging cups nearby. Michael approached them slowly. "Hi, Anna." "Hi, Sam," he said softly. Anna looked up and smiled gently. "Hello, Michael. Good to see you again." Michael nodded. "I wanted to check how things are going. Are the changes helping?" Sam paused before answering. "Some things are better. The tips are being handled more fairly. But trust takes time." Michael smiled. "I know. I'm ready to wait and listen." Anna said, "It's hard to believe at first. We have seen promises before. But this feels different because you're here, talking with us." Michael felt warmth in his heart. "I want to keep that trust. Please tell me if something is wrong." Days turned into weeks. Michael visited other cafes in the city. He spoke with workers, managers, and even customers. Everywhere he went, he saw the same things: people who cared deeply about their work but sometimes felt unheard. In one small cafe, he met Lucy, a young barista. She told him about her dreams of going to college but how her job's changing hours made it hard to plan. Michael listened carefully. He promised to look into flexible scheduling, so workers like Lucy could balance work and life better. Back at his office, Michael worked closely with Lisa and the management team. They improved the tip system, making sure every worker received what was theirs. They also created a new schedule system that allowed workers to choose shifts in advance and swap with others easily. Michael also started a monthly coffee chat, an informal meeting where workers could speak freely with managers and even with him. These chats were a success. Workers began to open up, sharing ideas, worries, and stories. One day, during a coffee chat, Anna stood up. Her voice was quiet but steady. "I want to thank Michael," she said, "for listening to us. For being here. It means a lot." Michael smiled and said, "Thank you, Anna. Your honesty helps me understand how to make things better." Sam added, "We're not perfect yet, but we're moving in the right direction." Michael nodded. "And that's what matters. We will keep working together." The workers clapped softly, and Michael felt proud. Outside work, Michael thought more about the people behind his company. He realized that every latte, every smile, every clean table was part of a bigger story. A story about respect, care, and trust. One evening, after a long day, Michael sat alone in his office. He thought about the journey so far. The first time he entered the cafe disguised, the voices he overheard, the trust he was building. He smiled softly. Change was hard, but it was worth it. Michael made a promise to himself to keep listening, keep learning, and keep caring. Because in the end, a company was more than just coffee and money. It was about the people who made it real. Michael felt hopeful as the weeks passed. He saw small but important changes in the cafes and in the way the workers treated each other. The new systems for tips and schedules were working better, and the monthly coffee chats created a space for honest talk. But Michael also knew that change was not easy. Some managers were slow to accept new ideas. Others seemed uncomfortable with the new ways of working. Not everyone was happy about Michael's sudden interest in the workers' problems. One morning, Michael arrived early at the largest cafe in the city. This cafe was busy, loud, and filled with many workers. As he stepped inside, he noticed the tense faces of some managers. They talked quietly in a corner, clearly unhappy. Michael walked to Lisa, his trusted head manager, and asked, "What is going on?" Lisa sighed. "Some of the managers feel like we're moving too fast. They think these changes are making the work harder." Michael frowned. "But the workers are happier, right?" Lisa nodded. "Yes, but the managers are worried about the cost and the time. They say it's too much." Michael felt a knot in his stomach. He had hoped for support from everyone, but now he saw there was a real challenge ahead. That afternoon, Michael called a meeting with all the managers. He spoke honestly. "I understand some of you are worried about the changes. Change is never easy," he said. "But our goal is simple: to make this company better for everyone. We want happy workers, happy managers, and happy customers." One manager raised a hand. "But these changes cost money and time. We have deadlines and budgets." Michael replied calmly, "I know. But people are our greatest resource. If our workers feel respected and trusted, they will do better work. That will help the whole company grow." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Lisa spoke. "Michael is right. We need to work together, not against each other. I believe this can make a difference." Slowly, others nodded. Some still looked unsure, but the tension in the room eased. After the meeting, Michael felt tired but hopeful. He knew the road ahead would have more bumps, but he was ready to face them. Back at the cafes, Michael continued to listen. He learned that some workers still felt worried about the future. They asked questions like, "Will these changes last, and will we be heard next time?" Michael understood their fears. Trust was not built in a day, it was built over time. One evening, as Michael was about to leave the main office, Anna called him. "Michael," she said softly, Thank you for everything you're doing. It's not perfect, but I feel like we're finally being seen. Michael smiled. Thank you, Anna. I couldn't do this without you and the others. We're all in this together. He promised to keep working until every worker felt respected and valued. At home that night, Michael thought about his journey. From the moment he first stepped into the cafe in disguise, to now, he had learned so much about his company and the people who made it real. He knew the challenge was big, but he also knew something important: when people feel heard and cared for, they can change the world around them. Michael closed his eyes, feeling ready for whatever came next. The months passed, and the small cafe where Michael first overheard the workers became a symbol of change, not just for that place but for the whole company. The atmosphere had shifted. The tired smiles were now brighter, and the tired eyes carried hope. Michael visited the cafe one sunny morning. As he walked in, Anna recognized him immediately and waved. Sam was arranging the cups behind the counter and gave Michael a friendly nod. Michael ordered his usual black coffee and sat down at his favorite table near the window. The cafe was busy, but the mood was lighter. He noticed workers chatting happily, sharing stories, and helping each other. Customers smiled more, and the baristas moved with more energy. Anna came over with Michael's coffee and said softly, "It feels different here now, doesn't it?" Michael smiled. "Yes, it does. You and the team have made a big difference." Anna shook her head. "We just needed someone to listen." Michael thought about all the steps they had taken: improving the tip system, creating clear schedules, holding regular meetings. But more than that, he thought about the power of kindness and respect. He stood up and spoke to the workers gathered nearby. "I want to thank you all for your hard work and honesty. You helped me understand what really matters. Together, we have made this company better, not just for customers, but for every one of you." There was a quiet cheer. Michael saw pride and hope in their eyes. Later that day, Michael met with Lisa and the management team. They talked about the progress and the challenges still ahead. But now, they had a plan, a path forward built on trust, respect, and open hearts. Michael looked out the window of his office, feeling calm and strong. He remembered the day he had entered the cafe as a customer in disguise, overhearing voices that changed everything. He knew the journey was not over. There would always be new problems, new challenges. But now, they would face them together. Because a company is more than just a business. It is a community, a family. And in this family, every voice mattered. Michael smiled as he thought about the future: a future full of promise, kindness, and respect. A future built on listening.